Well, I'm home. First night home. It's been a long week due to Thanksgiving. I stayed with mom for a few extra days. Actually, I didn't. I just lumped them all together instead. So just different days. But anyway, so I'm gonna make some meatloaf. This way, my husband and I'm gonna make enough. Gonna make enough for what I would have made if the boys lived here and actually would have eaten meatloaves. But I'm gonna do it a little bit different. Um, I saw this on Cooking in the Midwest and I said, why did I never think of this? This is brilliant. So, we're going to make meatloaves, but make them into hamburger patties and bake them that way. One of my sons used to not like meatloaf. Actually, neither of them do. But if I claimed they were meatballs and I made them in meatball form and put them in, I used to put them in silicone baking cups and they were these big meatballs, he would eat them. I should have tried this. I never thought of it. This is brilliant. So I'm going to take one of those packages of the ground chuck that I picked up. I'm going to mix it with ground pork. That's just how we like it. I had some onion already chopped in the refrigerator that I need to use, but we need to dice it up way smaller, so that way it's not big chunks. I've got some brown sugar, some mustard, ketchup, um, seasoned breadcrumbs, Worcestershire, buttery garlic and herbs, slap your mama, and some jarred garlic. So we're just gonna figure out how to, any recipe works with this. So I'm kind of loosely going off of what they did, and I'll post that recipe down below for you. But this is brilliant. So in here I have um, diced up that onion. Ended up being a lot more once I diced it. I did forget to say to get the egg out, and I went ahead and put the pork in. Let's get the egg. Ground beef. And we're just going to throw it all in together, and then we're going to lightly mix it because you don't want to overwork this or it'll be a tough meatloaf. So when I think I put enough seasoning in, I add a little bit more. Kind of how I do it. Now I am going to use Slap Ya Mama, but you can use any seasoning you would normally use. I'm not using a lot. I just use it because it gives it some flavor. Sometimes there just isn't a lot. I'm not going to put a ton of ketchup. It's just one of those things I've just never done that. Worcestershire. Seasoned breadcrumbs, about a half cup. This is 2 cups of meat. And this is seasoned breadcrumbs because it's what I had. It also gives it more flavor. And then I'm going to add in some of the garlic. I heard them say it's called busy people's garlic or jarlic. I kind of like the busy people's. I'm going to add a nice heaping because I know it doesn't have a lot of flavor in comparison. Now I'm going to lightly mix all of this together. All right, we're going to start with this, and I just have a 9 by 13. I kind of want to scoop it into balls and figure out how big I want to make them, and then go from there. Kind of like I do hamburger patties. I'd like to get 8. I mean, it's 2 pounds. That's 4 per pound, but at the same time, I don't know. We'll see. It's always that guessing game. What do I want to do? And I want them all the same size so they cook evenly. I could get down my scale. My mom weighs out all of hers. Yeah, that looks small, but okay. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay. Now let's just fill in the ones that I feel are small. So there we go. I think they're real close. So all I'm going to do is, I do want them to be decent thickness, but this is just all personal on what you'd want to do. There we go. Let's see how this goes. So I've got them all on here. He put them on a on a rack. I don't have a rack big enough, so they would fall off of it in places, and I don't want to mess with it. I normally cook my meatloaf on a sheet pan anyways, so that the grease goes away from it, so this will be fine. Now, I'll put this over here. We're going to start the topping, and this is just all by whatever you want. He added barbecue to his. I typically don't, so I just add brown sugar, just a tiny bit of mustard, because I don't want this to taste like Sloppy Joe. Worcestershire and brown sugar. And as I said, you could put barbecue in this. I've seen that done by a lot of people. And give this a good mix. And I always tell people, taste it. If you don't like it, add something else to it. I think I like the mustard in there just for a touch of vinegar flavor. So if I didn't have mustard, I could just add some vinegar. A little bit more brown sugar. I don't like it sweet, but I want it just a little bit sweeter. Sometimes I swear you can't tell if the ketchup is going to be real sweet or not. Sometimes I get it and it's not as sweet as other times. And I do have my oven on at 350, and we're going to start baking these for, I think, about 20 minutes. That's the other nice thing. This will make a really quick meatloaf. I remember back when the kids were younger, as I said, they didn't like meatloaf. I used to make mini meatloaves. That's a little bit better. Now, we're just going to spoon on. I'm going to give each one a little dollop. You also get more sauce this way. This may just be the most brilliant idea ever. I don't know. We'll find out together. Yep, dropped a little bit. I still have a little bit left, but I want to see what the coverage is like. Like I said, this isn't something I would typically do. And see, and when I make my meatloaf, I usually cook it first, and then within the last 20 minutes, it's when I put the topping on top. The ketchup mixture on top. And so I don't typically put it on in the beginning. So I may play with this a couple more times, but we'll see. You could always make more. Now tonight we're just going to eat these, and I'm rethinking. I was either going to do mashed potatoes. I've got a bag of potatoes. So I could either make mashed potatoes, and I'm just not feeling it. I'd rather mop my floors. Who says that ever? But I would. I haven't been home since Sunday. Came home for one night on Sunday, and that was it. So I don't know. I'm also thinking maybe fried taters in the cast iron skillet with some onions sound good too. Here we go. This took right under a half an hour, and they're all finished. And I just threw instant mashed potatoes and green beans. Quick, easy dinner on a night I really didn't have time to make too much. It's cold here today, so I'm not going to make what I was originally scheduled to make tonight. I decided I'm going to make a quick thing of ham and bean soup, and I've got all the ingredients to make cornbread, so we're going to do that. For the ham and beans, I have canned beans that you can use. I'm just going to rinse them real well. I've got broth. We've got some ham. I also have some country ham, and I have fat back. We're going to cook the fat back really quick to get so it'll release the oils in it, and then I'll cook the onion and the carrots in that, and then we'll just pull that out, but we'll let it simmer in with the beans so it'll give it all the flavor. And then for the cornbread, I'm going to throw it in my little cast iron skillet, but we've got salt, cornmeal, flour, baking powder, milk, oil, an egg, and I might put some sugar in it. Anyways, I just wanted you to know I did rinse it this time. I don't always, but I rinsed it this time because I want to control how much sodium salt I'm putting in the ham and beans. The sodium's pretty high already in the canned beans, even though I'm going to rinse them, and it is high in the chicken broth. So I just went ahead and took the outer layer of the salt off. Sometimes I don't, especially if I'm doing beans in the Instapot, or I'm doing a slow cook and throwing them in my crock pot all day. I don't rinse that salt off because the beans need salt. So I've gone ahead and diced up my carrot and my onion, and I'm just going to let a little bit more of the grease or the oils release from it, and then I'll pull that out, and we'll get or I might just leave it in, but I'll have to watch it if I leave it in, and I'll get the onions and the carrots sauteing. So I've pulled it out, and I'm just going to put in the onions and the carrots, and we're going to saute those until they're a little bit soft. And we're going to get the cornbread started. And there's the fat back once it's done. I put about a little bit over a tablespoon of butter in my cast iron. This is my small, I think this is a 10-inch. I'm going to put this one in the oven, and this is what we're going to bake our cornbread in. But I'm going to heat it up and get the butter melted. In here, I have a 1.25 cups of flour, 3/4 cup cornmeal. We're going to add some salt. We're going to add 2 teaspoons baking powder. I'm going to give this just a little whisk, just so that way it all incorporates. Now we're going to do 1 cup milk. I'm using evaporated because that's what I have. I'm using the 1 cup in here, and I'm going to make a breakfast casserole. So that's what I'm going to probably use the rest of that for. And then we're going to use 1/4 cup vegetable oil. And finally, 1 egg, but I am just going to give my carrots and my onions are almost all the way cooked down to where I want them. The thing is we're doing a quick method, so this would all have all day to have sat and cooked, or I would have done it in the Instapot, but we didn't. Now the only thing I'm going to add to this, and I know to some this is absolute sacrilege, but my family likes sugar in their cornbread. You don't have to add it. Actually, I want this a little thinner. I'm going to add a little more milk because it's still kind of thick. We'll finish getting this mixed. Okay, my cast iron is nice and hot. My batter is all mixed. And we're just going to see if I can do this. Get this nice and mixed dip here. I've got plenty of butter. So it's going up the sides. Now, before you come at me, I will eat cornbread. Non-sweet, sweet. The rest of my group would prefer it, including my mother, who was raised by my grandmother, who never put sugar in cornbread. So, this is going to go in a 400-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. My carrots and my onions are all cooked down. I've rinsed the beans, so we're going to get those added. And we're going to add in some stock. You can use veggie stock, chicken stock, whatever you want. I just saw a bean I didn't like. There we go. That even happens when you're using canned beans. All right. Probably going to add the rest of this in because we do want a soup. And we're going to get this up to temp and then we'll add the ham. We've got about 10 minutes left on the cornbread. And it's looking wonderful. Soup's up to temp. And I'm going to add in a good portion of the ham and get it broken up. I didn't want the ham to lose its flavor. That's the only reason I did this. I cooked it like this. I always find that the ham loses flavor. So I always add ham as late as possible in my bean soup. I might have a ham hock. I might have, like I did the fat back tonight, a ham bone itself. I've even made ham and bean soup with neck bones for the broth, and then I've turned around and just added in the ham at the very end, because this is the ham we're going to want to eat. Add just a little bit more. There we go. I just got the cornbread out, and I'm just going to put some butter over the top. I feel like this just keeps it soft. I could be wrong on that, but it smells really good. Oh, can't get that open. There we go. And inside here is the ham and bean soup that is all finished. Even when you don't have a lot of time, you can still put things together. Thanks for joining me. tonight I am going to do a pizza supreme slider. Just something, just get some of this stuff out of my refrigerator that I've had. So I picked up the Hawaiian rolls, but you could have used hoagie buns, half of a loaf of Italian bread, just split it open and use it. You can use whatever you want, but this is a great way to get things out of your refrigerator. I made pizzas last week, so I still have some sauce to use. There's still some pepperoni to use. I used half of this ham in a ham and bean soup, so I still have ham to use. I've got half of a pepper, some onion, cheese. I've got 2 bags of opened mozzarella. I've got a can of mushrooms, and then we'll just make a topping with the butter, garlic, salt or garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and Parmesan. So come join me tonight. Well, I had a child call. That's what happens. I've cut these in half and I just put the sauce down. Then I remembered I was supposed to be filming. I did go ahead and I'm sauteing the peppers and the onions. You don't have to. We just like them that way, so that's what we're doing. So you could also add sausage to this. I'm just not that big of a fan of ground sausage. So if I can avoid it, I do. My husband likes it, so sometimes you'll see me do ground sausage. But I had pepperoni and we've got ham, so that's plenty. I just want to use this package. So I'm going to probably put more on here than I would normally. Just to get rid of. There we go. It's almost ready to go. I've got the ham. Don't know if I'm going to use all of it or not. I did add a lot of pepperoni, so we're just going to lightly get the ham on here. I always say my husband's not the biggest fan of ham, but I managed to get him to eat ham and bean soup last night. So I don't want to go too overboard on ham and him go, okay, it's a ham week. It was just Thanksgiving and we did do a ham and he ate some of it. So that's always a good thing. My peppers and onions are done. And like I said, I just sauteed them. So let's get these on here. I feel like this is just a good way. There's my oven. I've got it heated to 350. I'm just going to get this all as even as we can. We've drained the mushrooms. I'm going to add the mushrooms. Right back to, we like mushrooms, so there'll be plenty of mushrooms on here. They're pretty big. Now, I never could get a can of mushrooms when I want them to be this big. You know, back when I had to take mushrooms off of everything because the kids didn't want to eat them, they would all be, you know, this size. Wow, these things are really big. I'm really impressed with all these can of mushrooms this time. They must have gone through the chopper wrong. And finally, the cheese. Don't know if I need to open both or just this one will work. This one just might work. Put as much cheese or as little cheese as you want. Now I'm going to get a sheet pan down and I'm going to cook them on a sheet pan and then put foil over the top of them. So inside here I have melted about 2.5, 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to throw in some Parmesan. We're going to make this like a garlicky butter, kind of like a breadstick, and Italian seasoning. And give it a little mix. There we go. I kind of wanted a thick consistency. Now let's put the top back on. I'm going to kind of give them a little smush. Take your mixture and just be generous. And we're going to cover this and bake it. And then once we get it for about probably 15 minutes, and then we'll take this off and bake it for another 5 minutes just so that the top gets nice and browned. I don't know about you, but I always put it on the sides too. If you've got it, use it. All right. I'm gonna cover it. It'll hold the heat, melt the cheese. Bake this 15 minutes, 350. Pull the top off another 5 minutes. So here we go. They're all done, and the cheese is all nice and melty. Thanks for joining me tonight.